Hello my beautiful friends, it's Mimi here today, and a lot of you have been requesting a sit-down talking video because a lot of you love those kind of videos. I love making those kind of videos, and I realized I haven't made a talking sit-down video in a while. So today's video is going to be a sit-down, chit and chat where we talk about a very important subject which I think a lot of people are actually quite uncomfortable to talk about, and that is the subject of failures. So generally speaking, people avoid the F word. Nobody likes to fail. A lot of people live their life the way they do in order to avoid failure at all costs. And I actually want to shed some light onto failure today in this video specifically because I believe I have learned to establish a very positive relationship with my failures in my life. So I want to share with you guys and yeah, share about my failures because I've had a lot of them, and I don't think most of my videos or videos that you see on YouTube or Instagram, Snapchat, all these social media tools that we're all kind of addicted to on our phones, we only get to see that, 5% of people's lives, which is usually the successes that we get to witness, which can make us feel like failures or losers and, create all these very negative, destructive stories in our minds, where I here want to share with you my true 100% story. So are you guys ready? Let's begin. So basically I'm here sitting down on the couch with a glass of water to really share with you some of my failures, because I thought that would make you feel a lot more confident maybe about the life that you're living and give you more courage to go after what you want to go. Because I find that, and again, I find through the comments that I read here on YouTube from you guys, my beautiful friends and audience here and on Instagram, a lot of people say, hey, like you guys are so goals, or like you guys are so lucky, you guys are so fortunate. And when I say you guys, I mean Alex and I, because everything we do, we basically do together. We run businesses together, we spend 24/7 together. I want to share with you the truth because, again, keep in mind what you see on social media, and that includes these YouTube videos, is 5% of my life. So what's going on in the 95% of my life? And I'll just share, of course, a little bit because it's impossible to share all of it. I just want to share with you guys the fact that there's so many failures behind the scenes that you guys don't see. It's not even funny. And one of the main things to keep in mind is the videos and the pictures that you get to see are the successes by default, right? Like if the video made it on YouTube or if the picture made it on Instagram, that picture was a success. But in order to get even that one successful picture, let's say that the person chooses to post, let's say I take about, not every time, but sometimes I can take up to 35 images to post that one picture that made it a success. So ultimately I have about 35 failures, not every time. Sometimes maybe I'll only take 3, 4 and I get a good shot right away. But sometimes it's the other way around and you get hundreds of shots. Professional photographers, if you go through their camera roll after the photo shoot, they literally have thousands of images on the camera roll. But then they only select about, maybe 20 images for that wedding that they're shooting or for that commercial shoot. Maybe they'll just choose 3 successful images. So what is that everything else? Is that really a failure? And that's what I want to talk about. So let's get into some failures because I'm getting away from the subject. You guys know I love to chat, so I could chat here for hours. So here are some of the failures. Let's start with one of the earliest one, and the one that some of you guys know is that I have failed to graduate from college or finish my college degree. Again, is that really a failure or not? So let's look at it. Some people can look at it as a failure. I personally am a proud college dropout. And regardless of how some people would like to address my relationship with education, because I read your guys' comments and some people think I have the wrong kind of relationship with education. But in fact, I love teachers, I respect teachers, I love education. In fact, I believe education is something that you do for all of your life, not just when you're in school. Educating is something you should do all the time. We're here to learn and grow, and I really love educating myself. But one big but is that I don't believe that you have to go into a traditional education to learn in life. Especially in the world that we live now, there's all these amazing free courses online. You can go intern for someone. There's so many other free ways that you can learn and educate yourself. I just don't believe that you have to go into debt, for example, to learn something you're not even sure you want to do for the rest of your life. So that's where I stand in terms of education. If you know what you want to do, then by all means go and study that. But going back to my failure, I failed to finish college. And the reason to that, again, I want to explain. At the time, I was working a job at the bank, a job at a restaurant, and going to school. In order to have my diploma, I would have to have accounting. And when I went to that accounting class, I realized that if I want to pass this accounting class, I would have to get extra tutor or extra help for me to pass. And at the time, like I said, I was working 2 jobs and paying for my own school education and supporting my parents. So I just looked at my situation. This kind of gave me an opportunity to dig deeper about why am I in school in the first place. And I realized I'm in school because I want to have my own business. I want to travel the world, because I was taking international business in Seneca College, in case you're wondering. And I thought to myself, okay, well, if I want to do business, well, I believe I will one day, but when I do it, I'll just hire an accountant. And at that point in my life, it made more sense because my parents relied on me. I relied on myself. I paid for all of my expenses. I needed to work. So I made the decision that it didn't make sense for me to stay in school to get this diploma. If I wanted to do business, I can do it without this piece of paper, and I will hire an accountant to do my accounting. So that's where my decision came from. I still encourage people to apply for college. By the way, here's the thing. Now let's talk about whether it was a failure. I still applied and I got approved, right? I got into college in the first place. And also I paid for my own school. And here I made a decision to leave. Although some people can look at it as a failure, and I can even name it a failure, I have failed to finish my diploma. To me, failures truly are sort of stepping stones on the journey of success. And that's, again, this relationship that I want to encourage for you guys to have with your failures, is to realize that failure is such an important part of your journey. You want to make friends with it, because if you resent it, you'll never be able to get to success, because failure is the stepping stone to success, basically. Okay, let's talk about some other failures. I have failed to be a good pet owner. Alex and I really wanted, well, actually it was my choice and my decision mainly. I really wanted to have a cat. So Alex and I decided together, because we're together, to adopt a cat. And after about a few months, I knew that it wasn't the right decision, even though I loved her so much. I love animals so much. But after a few months, I realized that the lifestyle that Alex and I live right now is not really great for having an animal who lives with you in the house, because every time we'd leave the country and we'd travel a lot, I'd have to arrange for somebody either to stay with her, or for her to stay with my mom, or for her to stay with somebody else. So it did take me about almost a year though to admit that failure, again, failure, the key word, to myself, that I have made the wrong decision. And that's cool, because again, it's life experience. You live and you learn. So when I made that decision, I was talking to Layla, my sister, and I told her that I'm gonna be looking for a new home for Mashki, and Layla said I'll just adopt her. Everything worked out fine. Mashki is happy. I get to see her and squeeze her all the time. But you know, again, you have a life experience, you do something wonderful, and then at some point you have to assess whether it is working for you, whether it is the right thing. And sometimes you have to own up and say, I screwed up. This is not the right thing. I failed. And that's completely fine. Again, that's another part of that very healthy, balanced relationship with your failures, is owning up to your failures and taking the responsibility. So I took the responsibility and I said, hey, I screwed up. I'm gonna look for an owner for this animal because I want this animal to have a better life. So these were some of my personal failures, but let's talk about some of the business failures, because I think those are important as well. A lot of you guys who watch Alex and I might be thinking that, oh, like, we're so lucky, we're so successful, we have all these businesses and everything always works out perfectly. But the fact is that it doesn't, and we had so many failures and constantly fail all the time, which is fine. Again, as part of the process. For example, before we even started Luxy Hair, Alex and I both had separate businesses. He did sort of like social media consulting and was selling his services as a social media consultant to companies and try to share with them how they can get their businesses out there on social media platforms like YouTube, at the time Twitter, and all these things that were popular back then. And he really didn't do that great at it. And I was doing something also in the service department, so we didn't have product businesses. I had image consulting business, and I was also doing fashion styling. So it required me again to go out there and, you know, sell my services to people and businesses, and I hated it. It really didn't work out for me. I thought this was my dream, that I will do this for the rest of my life. I didn't hate every part of it, but I would say I didn't like the fact that I was really attached. My time was attached to my services, and I didn't have the freedom to, let's say, be where I wanted to be when I needed to be. If I couldn't work, then I wouldn't get paid. So in a way, you still don't have your own business. You're still working sort of for somebody else. So for me, that part didn't work. And again, I failed at that career, but to me, really, that wasn't a failure, because that helped me discover what it is that I actually want to do. And then together, both Alex and I had this conversation about how we want to have a product business, and that we see ourselves more as, you know, passionate about designing different businesses and then being able to cater these businesses to audiences. So that's what we do now with many different things. But again, those two businesses that we initially started, we failed at. And again, it was amazing because it was such a privilege to even try them in the first place. And that's what I want to say here. Trying something and failing at it is actually such a privilege. You know, to be able to try and fail means you had the opportunity, to try, and then you had the courage to try, because so many people live their whole life and never try what it is that they want to try. Even when I wanted to do image consulting, so many people said, oh, don't do it, it's too creative, too unpredictable, you'll never succeed at it. And guess what? They were right. I didn't succeed, but it was a stepping stone to do what I am doing today. Next, you know, then we had Luxy Hair. We got very successful with Luxy Hair. We still have our wonderful Luxy Hair business. We love it. We're growing. We're putting so much effort and energy and doing really exciting things with it. But there were other products and businesses that we started along the way that never saw the world. You guys don't know about them, so I'm here to share some of those things with you. For example, it was actually Alex and I and Layla, this was years ago, we tried to create this eyeshadow palette, and we wanted it to be all natural, all organic, all these wonderful things that, again, we wanted for ourselves. And we spent so much money, tens of thousands of dollars into this project, flew to Italy, flew to California, met with these formulators, manufacturers, and in the end, the product sucked. It just didn't fit our expectations. We couldn't put our brand on there, and we couldn't sell this. We just weren't able to create the product we envisioned, so we decided not to go ahead with that project. That was a failure. There you go. Lots of money, lots of time. Does that mean that I will never try this project again? Absolutely not. But it failed. Another project that failed was this fashion business I was trying to do, which was different scarves, and I tried with the idea of, you know, some sustainable fabrics and this and that, and again, spent some money, hired somebody to help me with the production, and it didn't work out. I didn't find something I love, so the project failed. Another failure, this is very liberating actually, I could talk about this for a long time. Another failure, this one is a big one and very close to my heart. It actually hurts to talk about it, but I'm gonna share it right now because why not? Why should I not share it? You guys are my friends and I share this stuff with my friends. Another project that's super dear and near to my heart was to create a non-leather shoe that is sustainable. And you guys saw me and Alex go to Italy several times. The idea for this project came a long time ago from my own need for non-leather shoes, and we worked with some amazing factories in Italy. We produced the shoe. I was almost happy, almost ready to launch the shoe, spent a lot of money, effort, energy. There was other things in the project that didn't work, like I wasn't happy with some of the fabrics we used. So again, these are just the small details, but which matter as well. Essentially, I didn't have the product I could bring that I was happy with, that I could put my name on, and therefore I didn't launch it. It failed, the project failed, and that is fine, you know, you live through it. And what matters is that you actually give it a shot. Whatever it is that you want to do, you give it a shot. And the idea that you fail and the fact that you fail is actually an evidence that you have actually lived. If you haven't failed in your life, that means you've never lived. You've always stayed in your comfort zone. And it's just something I always keep in mind, is that if I have failed, that means I was courageous, and that means I gave it a shot. That means I was privileged enough to try something, and so many people in the world will never be privileged enough to try to do some things we easily can. Just keeping those things in mind. I mean, I could talk about many other failures, but I just want to share with you guys one other story from a friend of mine who moved to a different country. She moved to California and she lived there for about a year. It was her dream to live in California. She thought once she goes there, she's gonna love it and she's gonna be the happiest person in the world. And then she went there and she didn't like it. She found it very lonely. That was her experience. She hated it. She decided she wants to go back to where she was originally from. And I remember having this conversation with her and she said, Mimi, I can't go back. Everyone is gonna say I'm such a failure. And I listened to her and I said, are you freaking serious? To me, this was so bold. You packed your whole life and you moved somewhere. You lived your life. But then you decided that this is not the right thing for you. Did you fail? Well, yeah, you failed. But ultimately, again, you had lived. And those people that might label you as a failure are usually the people who are sitting in their comfort zone cages, who never get out of those comfort zones because they are terrified of the F word, the failure. And I want to live my life, and I want to encourage you to live your life full of acceptance towards failure, because like I said, failure is a stepping stone to success. And she decided to own her failure and move back to her country where she was originally from, and all kinds of doors opened for her. She met a wonderful person. Now they have a great relationship together, and all these great things happen because the faster you own to your failures, the faster you get to learn the lesson and evolve as a human being. So, wow, this was very long paragraph. I hope I was breathing in between. But that's really the message of this video. I shared with you some of my failures. I would love for you to share with me some of your failures and feel the liberation of how it feels. But mainly, I just want to encourage you to live and realize that if you're gonna live, you're gonna fail. And that's totally cool. So the sooner you create a better relationship and friendship with your failures, the sooner your life will become better. It's just about shifting your mindset about failures in the first place. I know that's not how generally our society views failures, but I think we have to change this mindset. And the more of us change the mindset, the more the society in general will change it as well. So it's all in your hands. It's all in my hands. It's all in your hands. And that's all I've got to share with you today. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to share it with your friends, because I think this is an important message to share. And also give this video a big thumbs up, and don't forget to share your failures down below. I'll be reading them. Thank you guys. I love you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.